All right. So for the sake of time, we're going to start right at 12. I'm Sharice. I'm the director of DSAP. We are so excited to have Rebecca Nesbitt here with us talking about TechOW. And so I will um, give it right over to her.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I'm going to share my screen, get this set up real quick. We'll do present. Okay, can everybody see that okay? Wonderful. Okay, awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to chat all things TechOwl today. We are going to really focus our time on our lending library. I feel like that is something that is immediately helpful and pertinent to the viewers of this presentation today. But we are going to go broad strokes over TechOwl and really how it can help you, your family, consumers, people that you help serve, that sort of thing. So to get us started, my name is Becca Nesbitt. I'm the assistive technology professional for TechOwl. We're going to chat a little bit about what that means in the Pittsburgh region and what that means class versus TechOwl and how they go together. I'm also a speech language pathologist. I still practice. I work in home with adults with disabilities, intellectual disabilities. I do that 1 day a week. I do throughout the month. I work in pediatric outpatient therapy. I'm also adjunct faculty for the time being at the University of Pittsburgh, where I did some research for in-home accessibility solutions. I'm a direct support person as well. I juggle like a million different things. I love just the diversity in my workload. I love helping people with assistive tech, but I also really miss the hands-on like clinical side of practice. So I do a little bit of everything. It's worked out well, and that is a reason why I love speech pathology because it's super flexible with me as you know my needs change and how I want to help people changes over time. So let's jump right in to TechOwl and what this is. So hopefully you have some familiarity with us, but if not, that's okay. TechOwl stands for Technology for Our Whole Lives. So when you see TechOwl, I want you to think Pennsylvania. There's a TechOwl in every state. It's just going to be called something different. And we will look at a map here pretty soon. But essentially, I like to describe this as the government allots every state a certain amount of funding each year to help folks learn about and acquire assistive technology. So Pennsylvania's AT Act program is TechOwl. We come through legislation in 1988 that really just started supporting those assistive tech initiatives. You know, that's right around the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. You know, when our culture sort of shifted and we started to really promote and emphasize accessibility in all areas of life for folks with disabilities. And we will talk a little bit more about how this legislation has changed right here. So the Assistive Tech Act, the original one was in 1988, but the same year that Google was founded in 1998 is kind of like when this was super revamped and ready to go. So that's kind of a theme, right? As we see technology generally increase, we see that happen too with assistive technology. So ways that we can help folks with disabilities using AI or using some of these tech-based methods. There were a few more amendments along the way, and we will continue to grow and change this over time again, especially as AI and online accessibility become more of a topic. But before we move ahead, let's chat a little bit about TechOwl in the state and our resource center. So I am Pittsburgh's TechOwl representative. I cover 7 counties in and around Allegheny. So if you look at this map, I cover all of the yellow regions. That includes Allegheny, Butler, Lawrence, Beaver, Indiana, Armstrong, and Westmoreland counties. However, there are about 9 of me throughout the state working on behalf of TechOwl. So sometimes the TechOwl branding can be a little bit misleading because we always have Temple University, you know, in big letters up there. We do come through the Institute on Disabilities at Temple University. So the main hub is in Philly, but we are statewide and we cover every consumer in Pennsylvania. We just break us up by, you know, region and district sort of thing. So that's kind of where the class partnership comes in. You will see Becca from TechOwl in class because we like to give both their, you know, their due. Pretty much, they need a place to house us TechOwl representatives throughout the state. So they usually choose nonprofits, community-based supports and organizations. So CLASS, Community Living and Support Services, is the TechOwl hub or the Assistive Tech Resource Center for this big yellow region that I discussed. Again, there's 9 of those throughout the state, and that's kind of the partnership. So I'm an employee of CLASS. My office is at CLASS, but most of the funding that I do is coming through TechOwl because I'm working on behalf of that grant structure. The other thing I wanted to draw your attention to on this slide is the AT3 Center. So if you just Google AT3 Center, that is how you find out what your assistive tech state resource is. So again, Pennsylvania is TechOwl, but let's just say you have anybody that you're working with in Ohio or West Virginia and you don't know what the resource center information is. You can go to AT3 Center. It will list what the name is in that state, who to contact, what programs they have in their own state. A lot of it is going to be similar to TechOwl because, again, we're working under those federal funds, but there's definitely differences state by state of what they offer. So just important to touch on there. Okay, so I'm going to go over some of these slides, broad strokes. I'm going to skip over some just for the sake of time. We will start with this one though. So that Assistive Tech Act that I mentioned of 1988, unlike earlier policies, this act emphasizes direct access for individuals rather than institutional support. And we do that by empowering the user, right? So we want people with a disability or their caregivers or family members, we want them to be able to have hands-on access of assistive tech without that reliance on a service professional or institutions to say what somebody needs. I found this really hard personally as I moved from full-time speech language pathology to an assistive technology coordinator because the model of how we help people changes, right? So most assistive technology organizations are going to work under the social model. And that's kind of what I've started to explain here today. We prioritize the removal of barriers. We provide tools, emphasize access, independence, and just we really want the user at the middle of the experience. Whereas the medical model, usually what I focus on when I'm a speech therapist is what's wrong with you? How do I label it? How do I fix it? And how do I do it in 12 units under insurance? Like it's just a whole different ballgame. That is not the model that we work with assistive technology and especially not at TechOwl. We want people to be able to make their own decisions without, number one, needing a diagnosis or saying this person's making a choice for you. So I won't spend too much time on this, but it's important to note the right-hand side has a big circle with a little TechOwl symbol. And so everything in the circle denotes TechOwl information. So we are statewide, we are legislation-based, right? We're federally funded, and we really major in device loans, training, and public awareness. That is a contrast to some of these other assistive tech organizations that might be more regional or locally focused. They might specialize in a certain population and their funding structure is different, right? They might be working off of out-of-pocket insurance, donations even. Usually you see that through a university or a nonprofit. This slide is important because assistive tech is the new buzzword. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's figuring out how we can incorporate it into not just school, but work and community resource centers, you name it. So it's important to know, hey, if all else falls through, TechOwl is kind of like that statewide safety net that you will always be able to come to us, whether, you know, other assistive tech orgs come and go or their funding structure changes. I think we will skip ahead some of these. This one I did want to touch on. Again, me being a speech therapist, how could I not? But not all disabilities are visible, right? So somebody is 3 times more likely to die of an adverse medical event that was preventable, right? So like a pressure ulcer, medication reaction, if they have a communication related disability. This is a huge, huge issue in our population of those with intellectual disability, because a lot of those individuals have a concurrent communication challenge or disability, right? So communication and language barriers also impact adverse events in the hospitalized pediatric population. It's really important to remember that if somebody's disability isn't visible, like a communication related disability, this can genuinely risk their life. Even if their disability is visible, if somebody has a challenge expressing themselves or communicating effectively, it can lead to some serious adverse outcomes and events. The last thing I wanted to touch on here are these invisible disabilities. Sometimes within our population of those with intellectual disability, my mind always goes straight to Down syndrome, right? And that's why we're here today, Down Syndrome Association. But there's a lot of intellectual disabilities that you would not categorize as a genetic disability, so it might not be as visible. And those individuals can lead can mask, and masking is pretty much when somebody has to change their natural state of behaviors to kind of conform to a social situation. We don't want people to have to do this. An example I give is somebody with traumatic brain injury who might mask that they have memory loss or that they're confused about something in the moment. Same, somebody on the autism spectrum needing to get some, sensory input or integration, maybe not hand flapping or gesturing in a way that their body might need to fit in socially. So all of these things are not what we want. Assistive technology can help individuals reduce masking, and it can also help really prevent adverse events, in the medical system too. We'll skip the language in this part. Okay, now we can kind of jump into assistive tech as a whole. So now we've discussed a little bit about what TechOwl is and our service model of delivery. So you know a little bit about us, but what do we know about assistive technology? I always like to start at the beginning. Assistive tech is such a large pool that it can be confusing when we're talking about, what really is it? So I like to start off with defining it. So assistive tech is broken into two categories, a device or a service. You can read this really long definition that I have on these slides that you will also have access to after today. But I like to describe assistive tech as any device or service that helps somebody with a disability function more optimally. So that is why the net is cast so wide, because that's a broad definition, right? So it can be an actual device or it can be a service of somebody helping you acquire that device. That is assistive tech. So I have a few just random examples on these slides here. I have a photo of arm crutches, glasses, hearing aids, behind the ear hearing aids, and then adapted silverware for a spoon and fork wrist hold. So a little bit more about assistive tech. When I say assistive technology, people think that it is a guy in a robotic room full of LED lights and touch screen and glass. Because I'm saying technology, the same thing happens when I say I'm a speech therapist. People assume I help kiddos say their R sounds, and I do a lot of it to a nauseating degree sometimes. But speech therapists also help folks who are post-stroke swallow again or swallow safely, right? We do cognitive communication. So we help people with memory strategies and executive functioning. There's a whole boatload of things that speech therapists do, but in the name kind of tricks our mental imagery. And that's what happens with assistive tech. We say tech, so our mind conjures up these really high-tech images. So let's chat about the assistive tech spectrum. So I have a photo of a guy, again, he's in like a glass room, everything's digital, it's super techy and sophisticated. That is the high tech, right? Anything that is what your mind conjures up when you say tech. So a computer, a power wheelchair, an iPhone, voice control, things like that. High tech just means that it's going to be expensive and that you're going to need some help learning on how to use it. It's not user friendly. You will need support. Those are the two kind of indicators to help you remember what high tech assistive tech is. Then there's mid tech. It's right in the middle. It's what you think it is. It might be a keyboard that's like ergonomically adapted to help somebody with, like a wrist injury. It's starting to move in that tech lane, but it's not fully high tech. The way I like to remember mid-tech is you might need some help learning it and you're going to have to pay a little bit, but it's nothing super extreme. And then we have a photograph completely to the right of this slide. That's just a notebook and a pencil. That is assistive technology, and that's what we call low tech. So that is extremely inexpensive and it's very obvious and user friendly. There doesn't need to be a lot of long term training, coaching, help, support, that sort of thing. It's important to note on this slide, like as an assistive tech coordinator, I don't care if it is high tech, mid tech, low tech. I want it to work for you and I want it to be individualized. So sometimes we get into that pickle as a service provider of, oh, I use this thing with this population all the time and it's great. That might be the case. But if you've met one person with Down syndrome, you've met one person with Down syndrome. And a lot of things come into play, like how is the caregiver or family support? What does the staffing support look like? Is this person a long time assistive tech user or is this brand new? How old are they? There's a lot of questions that I would ask to see, maybe we should trial this sort of device that would be a better fit for you. Just because you have a diagnosis does not mean you get a certain type of assistive technology. And we see this across all types of diagnoses and populations. So I went into it a little bit there, but I will be more specific on this slide. The fitting process. So as an assistive technology coordinator, my job is to help people understand what's out there, give them a good experience of trials and education, and then let them make the decision. Again, super different from speech or anything medical based, because I would be using a certain type of therapy or solution and say, hey, do it like this. This is what the evidence shows. But in assistive technology, we want people to make that choice. They can't make that choice, though, to the best of their ability if they don't have a trial, if they don't have one on one communication and direct support with somebody who can really help them or their family through the process. So that's where I come in. I'm here to just help you discover what funding source or program is the most appropriate, what's out there, answer questions, and get you connected to appropriate resources if it isn't TechOwl. Again, I like to keep things individualized. It doesn't matter where it falls on the spectrum of low, mid, or high tech. And then I'm asking those questions like support system, motivation, have they used assistive tech? My job is not to sway decisions or show bias towards a brand or a device. It's really just to help empower people on what's out there. Okay, so a couple of housekeeping things before we get into the nitty gritty of TechOwl today. So TechOwl doesn't sell anything. We're not a manufacturer and you can't buy anything from us. TechOwl does not pay for ongoing costs or subscriptions. This is tricky because nowadays with tech, most things are like an annual or monthly subscription package, right? Like these apps, these phone plans, even like smart tech in your home. It's a subscription model. We don't pay for things of that nature. But your AT coordinator, that's me, is here to help guide you to the appropriate grant fund or funding process. So we're going to chat about all the different types of programs and funds that TechOwl has. Again, biggest focus is on the assistive tech lending library, but I will run you guys through kind of broad strokes what TechOwl has and what we can do for you. Okay. So let's chat about our free phone program. TechOWL's free phone program provides adapted landlines and cell phones to Pennsylvanians with disabilities. Some eligibility standards apply to this. So when you think the free phone program, this is one of the only programs that there are eligibility requirements in an application. You can keep this phone. So unlike the lending library that you're borrowing, if you're approved with some stricter eligibility criteria, the person gets to keep it and it's theirs. We don't pay for ongoing plans. So the person would have to pay for their own phone plan. We are helping consumers, like we have a list of low cost providers that we can give. You guys can do your research. Like TechOW has single phone plans a month for like between like 10 and 15 bucks. So there are cheaper solutions than others. But essentially my role in this process is to receive a referral. I meet with somebody one-on-one or with their family and I demo options. I say, okay, what's the challenge this person is having? Here are the phones that might help this person. I show you the options. Then we apply. If you're approved and you receive the phone, I come back out and can offer up to 2 hours of direct training. A lot of times, this is me actually setting up the phone. If it's a smartphone, I'm cleaning up the home screen. There are like thousands of apps and stuff that people just don't need. And then I'm training people on how to use it. So a lot of what we're doing is smartphones with, Androids, iPads, iPhones. We're doing voice control. So I'm setting up Siri to their voice. I'm showing them how to use it. How do you make a call with Siri? How do you make a text? With some of these landlines, I'm plugging it into the wall. I'm turning on the caption system, that sort of thing. Uh, if you apply, you can get one cell phone and one landline. You can't get more than one cell phone, that sort of thing. And we do have accessories available. Like this down here is a bed shaker for somebody who is hard of hearing or deaf. If they take their hearing aids out at night, they wouldn't be alerted to an emergency, right? So this device connects to smoke detectors or your phone via Bluetooth. And so if your alarm goes off or somebody calls you, it will vibrate the person awake. So we have a couple of accessories in this program as well. This program is meant to help people with distance communication. We don't need a diagnosis. We need to know why you're having trouble using your phone and why you need a new one, right? So the example I give is if somebody has MS, that diagnosis might not be really helpful because MS kind of shows up differently for each person. So is it like challenges with your vision that you're having, or is it mental fatigue? Is it a fine motor challenge? That's the information that we're really looking for. But again, I am here to help you through the process of applying and demoing and understanding your options. So that's a little bit about our free phone program. Any questions with that before I move on? Okay, awesome. I will move ahead quickly to our good use program. Class partners with Global Links. Pretty much Global Links receives a surplus of durable medical equipment from local hospitals, and then they give it to us in like a monthly drop off, a big haul, and I individually disseminate those devices into the community. So when you hear durable medical equipment or DME, I just want you to think like clunky medical equipment that's usually tailored towards mobility, right? So it's walkers, wheelchairs, canes, bedside commodes, crutches, rollators, that sort of thing. It's completely for free, and we just have to schedule a pickup time and day. Anybody can pick up on behalf of anyone else. There's no eligibility other than the person being able to pick it up or somebody picks it up for them. Sometimes, if push come to shove, I can meet you in the community, but class doesn't have like a large accessible van or transport system for this stuff, so I can't drop it off. It's just me and my Jeep if I meet you somewhere with a wheelchair. So anytime you need this for yourself, for a consumer, for a family member, just call or email me. You can ask what inventory I have, and we can set that up. There was one more thing I wanted to tell you about this. You can keep it. That's what I want to tell you. You can keep it. It's long term. So sometimes I have people say, hey, we just need to borrow this for the weekend. You're more than welcome. You can always donate it back, or you can keep it long term, but it's completely for free. Also, if you are living somewhere further than the Pittsburgh area, I have a map that shows other reuse closets. And I might be able to find one that would have the same device for free that's closer to you. So we can work together on location. There are also some durable medical equipment closets that are just for peds instead of adults, like Reagan's Journey, Reagan's Closet. That's the biggest pediatric provider for DME in the area. So I'm a resource for that if you ever have questions or need any devices. Perfect. And that leads us to the Assistive Tech Lending Library. So our lending library is exactly what it sounds like, but instead of books, it's assistive tech. So you can borrow anything for 5 to 9 weeks completely for free. Each loan comes with a free package return sticker included in the box. So when we ship your loan out to you, it's going to come with a sticker. So when it's time to come back, all you got to do is pop it on the front of the box and then drop it off to a UPS, and there's no charge. You get it right back to us for free. We have really tried to remove all, if not all, of the barriers in this program. A lot of people utilizing this service can't drop a box off at UPS. Or sometimes if you're really rural, like there aren't UPSs readily available. No worries, just call or email me. We can set a pickup time for UPS to come get it from you. So again, all of that's for free. And what we really like about this program is that there's a try before you buy philosophy. So assistive tech is really expensive. And, working with so many consumers and even in speech, working with my patients, like sometimes you have the best idea on paper that will work for this person. And then they get the device and it's a terrible fit because there's always that like human component that we miss, right? And so I hate so much when I see people buying something really expensive out of pocket that they've never had a history with. They get it and it's not a good fit. I think that also leads to assistive tech abandonment, right? So I've seen plenty of people who buy assistive tech thinking that it's going to be a good fit. It's not. And now their mind is kind of skewed of, oh, this stuff doesn't help me, or I don't even want to look or dig into this anymore because it was a failure. So it's really important to try before you buy. In that same vein, you can borrow up to 3 items at once. So we have hundreds of devices across hearing and communication and eating and vision, all that jazz. So if you need you need a device that helps somebody with low vision, right? Let's say you want a handheld magnifier. Maybe borrow 2 or 3 at a time and see what features do we like about this one compared to the other one. This one's cheaper. Does it still get the job done compared to the one that we like the most? That's a way to really like center the user and that acquisition experience. So you can borrow up to 3 items at once and you have access to me the entire time. So I call you when it's shipping. I call you when it's due back. I call you during the loan to say, hey, like, do you have any questions? Do you need help troubleshooting? Should we set up like a virtual demo? Do you understand how to use this? That sort of thing. So you do have access to me, your coordinator, that entire time. And I just put a couple photographs of examples here on this slide. So at the end here pretty soon, I have wrapped this presentation up with slides that give examples of assistive technology. This is going to be our soft intro before the end where I really show you a lot of different options that are in our lending library. But the top left here is something called an Orcam MyEye. It is a small magnetic device that attaches to your glasses and it changes any visual input to audio output. So it will speak into a person's ear everything that it sees. And so it can read things off, it can describe environments, it can tell you if there's a threshold or stairs coming. It can save contacts. So every time I'd walk by, it would say Becca into the person's ear. You can control this via voice command, or you can use gestures. Like if you put your hand out in front of you, it will stop reading something, things like that. Again, awesome, super accessible for somebody who is low vision, blind, even dyslexia, having, this read things off for somebody, but super high tech. It's very expensive and you're going to need some training on really how to use this. The top right is our Ruby handheld magnifier. It's a digital magnifier. It can change color contrast based off your type of vision needs and loss. It can zoom a certain amount, and then you can take a photo still of something you zoom in on so somebody can hold it up closer and really read it. That one's super popular. In the middle here is a communication device. They don't look like this so much anymore because eye gaze has changed so much, but this is a dedicated device. It just helps somebody communicate. Either it takes over their speech if they do not have any and they're nonverbal, or it helps supplement that speech if they're hard to understand or unable to get longer sentences across. There's different ways to access these devices, and we'll chat about that soon. Bottom right here is a Bioi chin mouse. You connect it to your computer or laptop. It connects to your mouse, and anywhere that you move your chin, it moves the mouse, and then you hit your cheek on it to click or access something. Great for somebody who is some type of maybe paraplegic, has challenges using their core stability or moving their arms or hands to use a computer. And then the bottom left here is called the OB dining robot. We're getting one of these for my office really soon to demo. I'm so excited. So essentially, you put your food in these little swivel bowls. It rotates around. It measures where somebody is sitting in space. So let's say somebody has cerebral palsy and has core instability, and maybe they kind of lean to one side. They can't support themselves. Maybe they're a wheelchair user. It measures where they're sitting, the distance from the device in space, and then it scoops from a bowl and feeds the person. I had a 16-year-old with cerebral palsy wait for a couple months for this from the lending library. He emails me and he said, Becca, it's the first time I ate dinner with my family and mom didn't have to feed me. Like we all just sat there and ate together and it was so awesome. So even though that person is still receiving assistance in eating and feeding, not having a person have to stand there and give you that help is so enabling. It's just really helps with their independence, accessibility, and just being able to enjoy some of those social situations. So those are just examples kind of across the board of what we have in the lending library. I won't spend too long on this, but I think it's important to touch. So if you borrow something from our lending library and you know it's a good fit and you want to acquire it, the question is always what now? Because you can't buy it from us. And I don't have these devices in my office. The lending library is statewide and it has to get shipped back to Philly. So there's nothing you can come to my office and return it or something like that. It has to be shipped. So people always ask, okay, well, how do I get the device? This is where we pursue funding options together, right? So sometimes insurance will pay for this, usually not because they're really picky and they fight with you on device, category and that sort of thing. We check anyway. But if not, we do have a private grant fund at TechOwl called the Virginia Del Sordo Mini Grant Fund. We can get you up to $400 towards assistive technology. Pretty much it's one person per use per lifetime. We want people to have access to assistive tech and buying it if they're having a challenge acquiring it. And we can kind of pool those together with other local grant funds, which is really exciting. So we can pool $400 from Del Sordo together with Achieva. Now you have 800. The only thing that's important to remember is that it's one person per use per lifetime. So let's not use this on something frivolous, right? Let's use it on something that they need because they won't have access to it down the road if they, need it later in life. And there's a little bit of income eligibility here to make sure that you actually need the financial support. It comes by way of Visa gift card if approved. I am here to help you with the application, to help you figure out what you need, how much it's going to be with shipping. We'll calculate all that together. But just know that we do have private grant funding. And then quickly, I Can Connect is a national deafblind equipment distribution program. Pretty much at TechOwl, we just partner with them to figure out, hey, who are people who have low vision and low hearing who need specialized assistive technology? It is such a niche specialized field to work with deaf blind individuals or people who are very hard of hearing and very low vision. So we just help figure out, hey, who's a good applier to the program, and then they kind of take it from there. They do an assessment, they bankroll the solutions that they recommend, all that jazz in home. So that's a great program. Before we kind of circle back to lending library stuff, I did want to touch on 3D printing. TechOwl 3D prints fine motor tools for daily living. So I just have a small amount in the catalog here, but we have a catalog that helps people use their hands for everyday tasks. Okay, so challenges with tripod, pincer grasping, challenges with wrist and mobility, maybe arthritis, those daily tasks that are just hard to use your hands for. A lot of them are universally designed, right? So like even if you don't have a fine motor challenge, it can be helpful. So an example is a button hook. One side helps you button, one side helps you zipper, and you hold the device with your whole grasp, your whole fist, instead of your fingers only. I also think like a water bottle opener, something that helps you put your key in the door. We print and make all of this for free. If you go online to get something made, just tell us who you are and where to ship it, and we will do that. So now we're going to wrap up with types of assistive technology by category. So one of the biggest barriers to assistive tech that I have found is that people don't know what they don't know, right? So You know, assistive tech is possible and it's out there, but like, where do we start? What could even help this person? So sometimes it's helpful to see by category, here are some options and items available. Again, this is a big part of my role, so I'm happy to help you do this. And you don't need to memorize this info, but it's helpful for, you know, the learning experience of just knowing what's out there. So across moving and controlling, automatic jar openers, there's that OB dining robot that we talked about, a pool plug that helps somebody take something out of the wall. Top right here is a photo of something called guided hands. This is great for somebody with fine motor, wrist, and mobility challenges. The user straps their wrist into this sort of contraption. It holds the pen still, and then you move your wrist along a straight edge. It just helps somebody keep their grasp completely straight and centered. It's really good to trial. This is one of our most popular in the lending library, but it doesn't work for everybody. I have a lot of folks with like a resting tremor try to use this. It might help a little bit, but if your tremor is super severe, it's not going to stop you from tremoring and you know, changing how you're writing. So, but then I have some people with cerebral palsy who love this, and it just, that little bit of wrist support seems to really help. So this is a great one to try out for writing by hand. And then bottom left is a photo of something called an Ellis spoon. We have something else in the lending library called a Guyano spoon. Essentially, it helps folks with wrist challenges when feeding themselves or a resting tremor. So there's one that opposes tremor movement. As you shake one way, it will turn the other way. And so it's always finding the center of gravity. So as you tremor, the food won't fall off your utensil as you feed yourself. The Ellis spoon is really cool because no matter how you move your wrist, it finds the stability and center of gravity. So I always give the example, like somebody maybe with CP who has weakness in the hand that they're feeding themselves with, they can bring food to their mouth with a more limp or turned wrist, and this robotic head will swivel with them so the food won't fall off if they're feeding themselves in kind of an adapted way. Really great to try out so that people have independence in feeding. Here's our hearing and seeing. So eyes and ears, that's the slide we're on. This one's pretty popular. It's called a C pen reader. It's a digital pen that you scan any written text and it will read it out loud to you. This is so great for our learning disability population, dyslexia population, English language learner population, because it can define words and go a little bit deeper in that learning experience. It's also great for somebody with low vision. But this is where I, as your coordinator, really like to be involved if I can, because I would never recommend a C pen reader for somebody who wants to read a book and has low vision. Can you imagine like scanning line by line a 300-page book? That's just not accessible. I would recommend probably something like magnification for that person, like this MagnaLink tablet on the bottom right. It's a more modern CCTV. Remember those huge monitors that we used to sit places and plug in, it would blow it up. It's pretty much like that, only it's more digitized. So it can read things out loud. It's a tablet instead of a clunky screen, that sort of thing. Top right, we discussed the Orcam My Eye. We talked about the bed shaker and the free phone program. Bottom left is something called a script talk. We don't have this in the lending library. It's just an example of other assistive tech solutions that we are aware of and partner with. So a script talk is a free program for Pennsylvanians. They partner with local pharmacies to put a small tag on the bottom of your pill bottle from the pharmacy. They send you this doc, you plug it in the wall and press read, and it will read off everything on a pill bottle for somebody. It doesn't tell you if you took the pill or how many you've taken, but it does tell you what it is, who it's for. So great for medication management for somebody with maybe intellectual disability, vision loss, that sort of thing. A couple more here. Computers and tech access. You know, I put this slide here just to really remind people that having a physical disability should not stop somebody from utilizing technology like the internet, a computer, your phone. There are so many ways to access tech without using the traditional methods of your hands and your fingers. And these are just some examples. So Glasshouse Head Mouse, you connect that to your mouse a lot like the BOI Chin mouse. Wherever you move your head, it moves the mouse, and then you can bite down on that blue tablet to click. A jelly button switch does the same thing. You can connect it to, I mean, adapted toys, communication devices, you name it. You hit the button and it makes a click. I saw this at a training in January. It's called Augmental Mouth Pad. Pretty much, it's a pad that somebody attaches to their hard palate, and they can utilize and move a computer with their tongue. Great for a quadriplegic or somebody that cannot use their hands, upper body, even their legs, other, access methods. You can just control a power wheelchair with your tongue now. It's so cool. Eye gaze is really big and has always been a thing, but it's more mainstream now. So your iPhone has eye gaze. If you go into accessibility under your iPhone, you can tap eye gaze. It measures where your eyes are at. There's something called dwell time that makes the access. So it measures where your eyes are. Wherever you look is where the mouse moves. And then however long you dwell on an icon, you can set it for 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 1 second. That makes the click. So great for somebody who needs an alternate access for any type of computer or phone. And then the chin mouse, which we talked about. So really important that there are ways to access tech. If you do have an iPhone or an Android, you can go under, there's a folder called accessibility. So within settings, there's a folder. It's like a blue guy with his arms and legs hanging out. And you click on it and it divides accessibility by disability type. So here's all the things this phone can do for somebody with vision loss, hearing loss, speech communication. And you're more than welcome to just play around on there and see, like, what can this phone do if I need visual help or hearing help or communication help or physical help? Lots and lots of digital accessibility in that regard. Sensory and fidget tools, huge, huge, huge. People on the autism spectrum, even our pediatric population, universal design. Everybody loves a good weighted blanket. So weighted vests, sensory toys for visual stimulation, those fidget toys, noise canceling headphones for auditory sensitivity. I always say, like, these things just help kids, adults, whoever it is that are using them. It helps get people ready to learn, right? We need to be regulated to be in a state of learning and ready to participate. So a lot of these things help individuals get in that flow state of, I'm ready to participate in this space with you and be ready to learn. A lot of individuals who have autism have challenges with proprioception, right? So knowing where their body ends and space begins. Weighted things help them feel a little more grounded of, oh, okay, like, I'm here, space is here, I'm regulated more, and I'm ready to learn. So all of these things are helpful, and again, all in the lending library. Wrapping up here, AAC, augmentative and alternative communication. These are just ways that people can communicate by a non-traditional verbal hearing method, right? So there's something called a dedicated device. Dedicated communication devices just mean that all this device is going to do is the communication, okay? A non-dedicated device means it can do communication, but like maybe it also does YouTube videos or games. So iPads are super popular. I just listed a few apps here that are common to people who need communication help. Prolo, Quotago, Lamp, Snap Plus Core. You can download these in our lending library. We can send them to you. You can trial out more than one app at a time. And then there's something like the Go Talk 9, that's a little more what we call mid-tech. So on that tech spectrum, it's not as high tech. You can change the pictures, you can record anything into those buttons, and then you press it and it will say it out loud. My recommendation, I always say this, if you have a 4-year-old, I would say 3, but let's just say 4. If there is a 4-year-old that you know of that does not have a functional means of communication and is not in speech therapy, at least trying to work on sign language, AAC communication, something is very, very wrong. Waiting until 5 or 6 to introduce these methods is not okay. I work with a lot of adults with Down syndrome or intellectual disabilities, and it's just amazing to see the generational divide where they didn't have the research or the access to a lot of these alternate forms of communication. And there's many individuals in that IDD community that are, fully adults now that have no functional communication. And that's a lot of my PRN job, is going into homes and just trying to integrate that. The earlier, the better. It does not replace spoken communication. It can only enhance it if there is any. And we shouldn't wait. We should use these things early to show different methods of communication with visuals, and to help people get their point across before a lot of times we see behavior, which behaviors, maladaptive ones, are forms of communication. If I was 6 years old and was never able to tell somebody something, I would probably start flipping tables and biting people too. And so some of these maybe like unsafe behaviors are communication, and they're valid forms of communication. We just want to replace them with functional communication that doesn't have to get people so upset or get to the point where now there's a challenge, whether in school, socially, at home, that sort of thing. So we have lots of communication access and methods in our lending library. Yeah, I think this is about the last thing here. Independence and environmental aids. So another huge, huge topic nowadays is aging in place and home-based modifications, right? So how do we make somebody's home environment accessible for their needs? There are lights that you control with Alexa or your voice. You can say, Alexa, good night. And she'll turn up your thermostat. She'll close your blinds. She'll dim the lights or turn them out. There are so many things. We just made a smart kitchen at class. And wow, we got so many items. And I'm like, this is only a drop in the bucket. You can't get everything, even when you just have like a demo station. There's so many options. So there are adaptive knives and rocking like cutters that rock back and forth. There are ergonomic and adapted cutting boards. There's ovens that you can cook via an app and don't get hot on the outside, to help folks with intellectual disability maybe participate in meal prep without burning themselves or having that safety risk. There are so many adaptations we can do at home across the board. So we do have some of these items available, not as much in the lending library, but it's something that we are moving towards, even just specializing in. So if you have any questions about those things, I am a resource. Yeah, so that's it. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Actually, I'll leave that up just so you have my contact. Don't worry about that QR code today. But are there any questions? I know we went through so much, but I was just trying to fit in as much as I can. And I'm a resource if you want to learn more. You are more than welcome to just, call or email me.
Hi. Um, is it okay if I just jump in with a question?
Yes,
Sure.
please do.
Hi, Becca. I just was looking through my email. I have an email from you from about 3 days ago. I had reached out. I seriously just happened to be in my email and saw that this webinar
Crazy.
was happening 5 minutes before it started, but it's
Oh.
timely. Um, So my daughter, she's 9 years old. She has Down syndrome. She is nonverbal. She uses TD Snap.
Mhm.
She's also a Gestalt language processor, which we are just starting to unpack all of that.
Yeah.
Um, the AAC is provided by the school district. We just had an IEP team meeting. We've had like three. And the assistive technology evaluation um, was not helpful at all, really, on her IEP. They just listed the apps that she uses and how she accesses them.
Okay.
And I hired an education advocate, and she was really holding their feet to the fire on that. And she was
Yeah.
naming a lot of different things that they could be using to help her fully participate in the gen ed classroom.
Sure.
Um, some of the things that she was talking about would be a pen that would read text.
Mhm.
Because the challenge right now is there are like they all have laptops and Sienna has an iPad and her dedicated speech device.
Mhm.
And being able to, like, every subject has two or three different apps.
Yeah,
Um, some textbooks are available on her iPad, some are not. Some
yeah,
she has to get through the app. It's just like the nuance of even accessing the
yes.
curriculum in the way that she needs to is multi-step and too complicated for her. So the education advocate was saying, is there any way we can just streamline this so she can participate and something can be read to her from the textbook so that we don't have to go through all these steps? And I was thinking of this Orcam reader. I didn't see the glasses until
Mhm.
now. There was something else that is on TechOWL's website that I was looking at. It wasn't that magnifying glass. I forget what it was.
Yeah, there's an Orcam Read as well, which is a version of that Orcam My Eye, but specifically just for people wanting to use it for, literacy and reading aloud.
Okay. I feel like that would probably be more beneficial for her. And like I just was looking at a bunch of stuff. So it might be better if I schedule like a one-on-one call with you and we can go through her needs because I don't want to dominate.
Yeah, no, that would be great. Thank you for joining first and foremost and reaching out. This would kind of help us as a group, I think, quickly. So I'm pulling something up. Let me find you. One sec. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Yes, let's totally set up like an actual appointment or a consult so that I can get more specific with you. But this is really important information that I feel like people don't know. So tablets have text to speech functions embedded in them. So if she's using a tablet, she can already use that to have it read aloud anything to her. And this is a bit of my back and forth with some of these different devices that do that. The Orcam is great. The C Pen reader is great, but it's also like you already have tech that can do this. So sometimes adding more, we just start collecting assistive tech and it becomes too cumbersome. Maybe not. But if she has an iPad, there is text to speech software. It says here there's OCR, so Microsoft OneNote. OCR just means it will read off written things. So under accessibility, there's also like read aloud modes, voice assistants. Like there are ways that the tablet she already has can do this function. So yes, please email me. Let's totally just set something up so we can get more nitty gritty about that. But I did want to share that because I think a lot of people miss it's not always about getting new fancy assistive tech sometimes, but also sometimes it's about like, what do we already have and can it fill our needs?
Right, right. Yeah, no, that looks great. The problem is it's just like some of her classes, they
Some of
actually
it.
still use books, and
Yeah.
some are on the iPad, some are on the laptop. So it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's and my other question was I just wanted to ask, do you ever work with school districts on behalf of families like their assistive technology folks? Have you ever?
Yeah, I've chatted with the like assistive tech departments at certain school districts. I don't provide actual assessments for assistive tech. My role here is to just, I can collaborate with people and send different things to trial and just give feedback. But sometimes even that just like connection is helpful of like, hey, what are we missing here? Is there a way that we can be a little more like connective together? So yeah, I'd be happy to.
Okay, great. I will reach out to you after this and try and set up a call. Thank you so much. This is really, really helpful, and I appreciate what
Awesome.
you guys do.
Yeah, sure thing. Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Any other questions? Okay. Well, I will be sending over. I'm sure there's a way that this was recorded, and we'll be sending out the PowerPoint slides and that sort of thing, and my contact information. So,
Yeah, if you send it to me, Becca, I can send it to everyone that registered for the Zoom. So
okay, awesome.
thank you so much for being here. It was so much great information. I really appreciate it. I think it'll be helpful for lots of families in our community. So
Good. Okay. No, thank you. I really appreciate it, and it was so nice seeing you at some of the local events.
yeah,
So.
absolutely.
All
All
right.
right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.